Hi everyone, welcome to this slow flow and stretch class. Today we're going to be working into and exploring the fire element. So we're going to be nourishing our heart space and working into our digestive organs as well. So our ability to assimilate some of the big energy that's going on around summertime. If you're not practicing this in summer, it's still a really nice practice to open out through shoulders and into the upper part of the spine. So come to sit if you're not already, and you're welcome to take crossed ankles. Maybe you kneel. You might have props at home, and if you do, you could sit like Loren and Emily are straddling a bolster. That can be a really nice way to give yourself a little bit more lift. And if you have got props, they're quite useful for practice today. So you might have a bolster and a couple of bricks. If you haven't, something like a bed pillow, a cushion, a throw off your sofa can be really useful. So once you get comfy, bring the hands to the heart center, connect the palms together, interlace the fingers, and let the palms rest on the heart space. You can just have the thumbs pointing up towards the collarbones, and the elbows are softening into the sides of the body. So you're not trying to hug them in really tight, you're just letting gravity take its effect on the arms. And once you've found that place, that position for the arms, close your eyes if you feel comfortable to. Otherwise, you could just soften your gaze, take it a little forwards of you on the floor. Take a deep breath in, feel the heart swelling under your hands. And a long, slow breath out, maybe through the mouth. Let's do that one more time. Breath in. Big sigh out. And you might let the lips close together. Let the breath find more of a natural rhythm. Have your attention resting on the movement of breath in heart space. As you breathe in, you might sense that the heart expands, that the palms lift slightly. As you exhale, allow a softening into your heart center. Let the collarbones open wide, let the shoulder blades melt down the back body. As you begin to settle into stillness with the breath, you might notice areas of tension in the body. Next time you breathe out, allow something to soften. It might be the face, the cheeks, it could be your belly, your hips. Begin to feel a little more grounded in your seat. In your own time, one more smooth, easy breath in through the nose, out through the nostrils. And then you can allow your eyes to float open, releasing the hands. You might take a few rolls through the shoulders, either both together or one at a time. Moving the shoulders in the opposite direction. And then just check in with the way that you're seated. You want to have the right ankle crossed in front of the left. So if you've got the opposite cross, then change it. You might stay as you are. You might be kneeling, in which case, see if you can come to crossed ankles. From there, we're going to take the arms out to a cactus shape. So your elbows are bent up about shoulder height. The palms are facing front ahead of you. Take a breath in here, feel the heart space expanding. And as you exhale, take your right elbow under your left, hands on the shoulder blades behind you. Let the spine round out behind you as the chin drops to the chest. Inhale to open back up again into those cactus arms. You might arch a little through the lower back and lift the gaze. As you exhale, left elbow under right, same thing, spine arches out behind you. So we're beginning to move through some seated cat-cows. Inhale, opening it up. And just take it in your own time. So begin to move to the rhythm of your own breath, which might be a little quicker or a little slower than I'm going. Next time you open out into your cactus arms, pause there. Take a breath in here, soften the front of the rib cage, draw it a little into your belly. And then inhale, extend the hands up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, turn towards the right. So your left hand's going to find the knee, the right fingers drop behind you, moving into quite a gentle rotation here. So you're not trying to pull yourself around, just melting into the rotation, particularly on the exhale. Maybe the left collarbone can be just as open as the right collarbone here. Next time you breathe in, turn to face front again. As a gentle forward fold, so bring the fingers forward, maybe you tip forwards a little bit, maybe you don't. It might just be that you're lengthening through the spine. See if you can keep your sit bones grounded behind you. Yeah, that's nice. And it might be that you move the head on top of the neck, sway the body from side to side, just feeling into the spine a little bit. The next time you breathe in, walk the hands back towards the feet so you come to sit upright. If you're sitting up on something quite high, you might need to come off at the moment, so you can bring it to one side. Bring the feet out in front of you, so step them about hip distance apart. Bring the hands behind you. We're not going to lift up this time round, but we're just going to set up for a heart opener. Roll the shoulders up to the ears, slide the shoulder blades down the back body. Yeah, perfect. And just breathe into this. So lift the heart space. There might be quite an active connection with hands to the floor, spreading the toes into the floor, feeling the potential for lift. And we're going to come through this again one more time so you can actually lift the bottom off the floor next time if you want to. From there, come forwards, lift up, cross your left ankle in front of the right this time, so opposite way. Yeah, great. And we'll repeat that on the other side. So inhale, open out into cactus. Exhale, left under right this time as you begin to come through those seated cat-cow stretches. Again, move to the rhythm of your own breath. And you might feel that the shoulders are a bit crunchy. Maybe there's a bit of tightness somewhere in the underarms or in the back body. So just move through that. Be quite easy into it. We're not trying to push and force. Just give the body the chance to begin to articulate and open up. Next time you open up, pause there. Soften here. And again, the rib cage might soften into the front of the body a touch. Lovely. Inhale, reach the hands up to the sky. Exhale, turn to the left. So turning the opposite way, left fingers can just support behind. Try not to lean back into that left hand. Yeah, that looks really nice. Chin's not moving you around. The movement's coming from the center of the body and spiraling up through the spine. Next time you breathe out, stay there. See if you can soften the right collarbone a little wider. Inhale to face forwards. And then there's the invitation to a forward fold. So you might creep the fingers forward. Try not to let the bottom lift off the floor. So it might mean that you don't come forwards as far, that's fine. If you can, you might let the arms extend. Again, you could take some movement if it feels like it eases up through the shoulders, particularly if you're doing this at the end of a day and you've been sitting at a desk for quite a long time. Even in the morning, the body can be quite tight. And walking the hands back towards the feet. Again, if you've come to sit up on something in between, you might come off. Bring the feet out in front. Again, they're about hip distance apart. Hands behind you into the floor. Roll the shoulders up, back and down. Lift through the heart space. Have the palms fully in the floor here if you can. And then I'm going to stay down. I'm not going to lift. But Emily Loren, you might want to press through the feet and lift the hips up to the sky. Look towards the knees to start with, so you're not cranking through the neck. See how that feels, and then you're welcome to take the gaze up. Maybe even slightly back, but extend through the back of the neck. Press into the big toes and the thumbs. Breathe into that strong stretch across the front of the heart space. Yeah, really nice. As you exhale, bring the bottom back down to the floor. Really nice. Roll yourself over onto your hands and your knees. And then from there, imagine there's a big figure 8 drawn on your mat. And begin to trace that with your body. So you're looping the shoulders forwards around the wrists, taking the hips back around the ankles, and just moving your way through that snaky feeling. That's great. Easing up through the neck. Just check that the jaw doesn't tense up. Keep the fingers nice and connected and spread as well. So you've got really firm roots from which you can free up the body and move. And then take those movements the other way a few times. Again, you might find that there's a particular point in the body that feels a bit tight. You might even want to pause in that place for a moment, forwards and backwards, or just take the breath into it. Bring your attention to what you're feeling, the sensation that you're feeling in the body. And then once you've moved through those figure eights and you're balanced on both sides, come back towards your hands and your knees, so the shoulders are over the wrists. Take the knees as wide as you can comfortably take them into the mat. We're going to come to a wide-kneed child's pose. So sinking the hips back towards the heels. The big toes might touch behind you, but don't worry if they don't. The arms are long, just for a couple of breaths before we add a rotation into this shape. So take one more breath in here, feel it expanding into the back of the rib cage. Stay there as you exhale and feel the crown of the head extending away from your sit bones. As you breathe in, keep the left palm grounded, but lift the gaze ever so slightly. And then we're going to slide the right hand underneath the armpit, coming down onto the outside edge of the right arm. The side of the face might be in the floor, but if that feels like it's hovering away from the ground or it feels uncomfortable to have it on the floor and you need something underneath it, you could always rest a block, maybe a pillow underneath your right cheek. So here you're just breathing into any sensation that you might be feeling. For most of us, that's going to be in the shoulders as well as in the hip creases, the backs of the knees. Each time you breathe out, you might be able to soften something. 2 more rounds of breath. Next time you breathe in, lift a little so you can take the right palm back up above your head onto the mat. As you exhale, slide the other hand underneath the right armpit. You're coming down onto the outside edge of the left shoulder, so you probably begin to feel the opening that we're creating through the back of the upper arm. And again, if the neck feels uncomfortable, you could rest the head on something if you haven't already done so. Send your awareness to what you're feeling in the body, those sensations that can really help to keep you anchored in presence. 2 more rounds of breath. Make them expansive. Full exhales. So listen to your own breath count. The next time you breathe in, you're going to unfold that left arm so the hand stretches back to the top of the mat. From there, look a little forwards and then begin to slide your way forwards onto your tummy. And you might need to help yourself there. Yeah, as Emily's done, you might need to bring the knees a little closer together. If it feels comfortable to have wide legs, that can sometimes really help with the back body. Take the hands off the edges of the mat. So we're going to take a slightly different arm variation for Cobra. So slide the fingers wide. Yeah, perfect. And you can bring them up towards the top edge of the mat. Let me get those blocks out of the way. If you want to, you can bring them to the top corners of the mat. On an inhale, you're pressing down lightly so you can curl the heart space up and away from the floor. And you might begin to snake through the body a little bit here. Keep the elbows pointing up to the sky. Snaky movements can be really nice here. Just, again, feeling your way into your body, being a little softer around how this posture might normally look. And slowly bring the hands back alongside the rib cage. Take another breath in here. As you exhale, move your way back to downward facing dog. So bring the hips to the heels, tuck the toes, unfold the backs of the knees. Those lovely long arms, nice long back. And then feel free to take some movement here, which allows you to get into the backs of the legs, into the hips. Might involve bending one knee and then the other, maybe it's swaying the hips from side to side. Find some stillness in your downward facing dog. Ground through the pads of the fingers, the base of the fingers. Soften the knees a little bit more than they already are. Take a breath in here, keep the knees soft. And as you exhale, come back into the leg body by stretching the sit bones up to the sky. So stay there, Lorena, perfect. Just lengthening out in downward facing dog, that's so nice. Breath in. Breath out. On your next inhale, float the right leg up long to the sky behind you. As you exhale, bend through the knee, bring the heel to the bottom, and then keep the shoulders steady as you lift the knee up to the sky. You might even want to tent the left fingers in the floor, so the left palm lifts away from the ground. And that might help you to keep the left shoulder in line with the right. Yes, perfect. Bring the hand back down to the floor if it's lifted, square off your hips, and then step the foot wide to the outside of the right hand. So you're coming into a lizardy place. Bring the back knee down towards the ground. And come up onto your finger pads here, so you've got lots of space. Yeah, nice. Breathe that left hip a little higher above the floor, Emily, if you can. Yeah, nice. So the collarbones are really open here. You're beginning to feel that stretch through the front of the left thigh. That looks really nice. From there, keeping the left hand grounded, take the right hand onto your knee. Take a breath in here, and then as you exhale, turn the chest towards that knee a little bit more. And you might even drop onto the outside edge of the right foot if that feels appropriate in your hips, in your knees, in your ankles. You don't need to push it open, just support it as the knee naturally opens out. Yeah, that's nice. So the chest's turning a little bit as well, so we've got a bit of a rotation. Take another breath in here. Releasing on the exhale, bringing the hands down onto the inside of the front foot. Curl the back toes underneath you, pick up the back knee, pivot your way around towards the long edge of the mat. Here, have the toes turned out, bend the knees, and begin to sway the body from side to side. So this is one that we often do if you want to warm up through the hips, and it's a really nice way of creating a bit of mobility through the pelvis. You don't have to take it too deep if that doesn't feel right, kind of early on in class. But if it does feel good, you can bring the knee quite bent and lower the bottom quite close towards the floor. Really lovely. Begin to come back towards the center of the legs. Keep the toes turned out, bend through the knees, bring the hands up onto the thighs and climb your way up to a goddess pose. So eventually the spine comes upright. Yeah, that looks really nice. Roll the shoulders up and away from the ears. Bring the hands back onto the thighs again if they've lifted. Take a breath in here, and as you exhale, you're going to bring the right shoulder towards the left inner knee, bowing the body down. Inhale, lifting it up, and then take it to the other side as you exhale. So you keep moving, I'm going to move away from that. So just keep moving through that another couple of times. Again, just kind of snaking through the spine, feeling the mobility in the shoulders. One more time, right shoulder to inner knee. Even it up, coming to the other side. And then come up through center again. Bring the hands onto the waist, lengthen the legs, and turn the feet into parallel. Great. From there, we're going to work our way quite slowly towards a triangle pose. So turn the right toes to the top edge of your mat and the back foot in about 45 degrees. Keep the hands on the pelvis. Take a breath in here. Then as you exhale, begin to hinge from the pelvis. Fold your way into triangle pose. Rotating the chest open. Yeah, that's so nice. And then bend your left elbow and just drape the hand behind the back of your head. So the other way, yeah, behind the head, lovely. So support the back of the skull, and that might help you to rotate the chest open a little bit more. And you don't have to go so deep in this posture. It might be that you're quite lifted, just really finding that strength through the legs, the stretch through the hamstrings, the inner thighs. Strong belly as you lift all the way back up to stand. Bring the hands back onto the waist, turn the right foot back into parallel to the left, and you might need to turn the left foot out a little bit. Bring the hands behind you. Option here to either clasp elbows or to interlace fingers. So whatever feels most comfortable, or just rest the hands on the sacrum behind you. Take a breath in here. Begin to fold your way into a wide leg straddle as you exhale. And again, it doesn't need to be too deep. You might find that you don't feel so comfortable with the hands behind the back body, in which case you can release them and bring them to the floor or to a support. Let the back of the neck release. Nice, Emily. Breath in, breath out. One more time, deep breath in. As you breathe out, release the arms, but take it nice and slow so you don't jar through the shoulders. Soften the knees. You might need to lift up a little bit if you've gone quite deep, and move back round towards the right foot. The hands are going to come either side of that foot. Step your way back to downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in here. A breath out to send the sit bones up to the sky. Inhale, roll out to plank pose. Exhale, knees to the floor, seat back to the heels, look forwards and then slide forwards onto your belly. Coming towards that baby cobra shape again. So you can either keep the hands beside the rib cage, or if it felt interesting before, you could bring the hands wide, point the elbows up and have a little play. Keeping connected to breath. And the next time you exhale, you could slide the hands back beside the rib cage so your transition to downward dog is a little easier. Pause there in your downward dog. Nice big breath in. Slow, easy breath out. So we're going to repeat that little flow on the other side. So the left leg floats up to the sky, bending through the knee, lift it up and open towards the ceiling. You might find that your right shoulder feels a bit collapsed here, so you might even tent the right fingers on the floor if you did before. Lift the palm away from the mat. So we're really rotating from the pelvis here rather than the shoulders. Lovely. Bring the palm back to the floor if it's lifted. Square off the hips. Step the left foot wide to the outside of the left hand. Coming back to this lizardy place. Lovely. Back knee softens down towards the floor. Yeah, nice with that right hip. Just kind of make sure that it's a little lifted away from the ground. You've got a bit of space here, either with bricks or up on your hands. Nice wide collarbones. Breathe into the heart space. So your attention might come back to that part of the body that we're working into and nourishing with this practice today. Keep the right hand grounded. The left hand finds the knee. Take a breath in here, and as you exhale, you're turning the chest towards that knee a little bit more, opening again through the heart space. And if you did on the other side, you might explore rolling onto the outer border of the left foot. See how that feels in knee joint, in ankle joint, and just really honour your practice. The wisdom of the heart is a really great thing to tap into. From there, bring the knee back towards the midline, hands on the inside of the foot. Tuck the back toes underneath, lift the back knee, and then pivot your way around towards the long edge of the mat. Like we did before, the toes are slightly turned out, the heels in, and you're swaying from side to side. So you're bending alternate knees here, just letting the body move. You can either keep the hands right in the center, or you can move the hands along the floor between the legs. Again, it sort of depends on how steady you feel in this shape. From there, come back towards the center of the legs. Keep the toes turned out, the knees wide. Climb your way up the legs with the hands on the thighs towards that goddess shape. Keep the hands on the thighs here. Take a breath in. And this time, left shoulder towards right knee as you dip your way down towards the floor. Moving through that, coming to the other side. Breath in to lift and breath out to come down. And we do that a couple more times on each side. So really playing with your breath here. Yeah, the breath sounds really good. One more time over towards that right knee. And in your own time, over towards the left to even it up. Coming back through to the center, lifting the torso upright. From there, hands to the waist, lengthen the legs. We're moving our way towards our triangle pose. So turn the left toes to face this top edge of the mat. The back foot's about 45 degrees. With the hands on the pelvis, begin to hinge your way to triangle pose. So send your left sit bone kind of towards the right foot at the back of the mat. You can open the arms out and then bend the right elbow so the hand drapes behind the back of the head. And you might even support the skull. Maybe that supports the opening of the chest, of the heart space, of that right underarm up towards the ceiling. Steady breaths. Keep connected through the feet here as well. Strong legs as you come all the way back up to stand. Bring the hands back onto the hips. Turn the feet into parallel. And then from there, hands might come behind you. You could clasp your elbows or just rest the hands on the sacrum behind you. When you're ready, fold your way down. Nice strong thighs to support you. Remembering that it doesn't matter how deep you go, it's more about just experiencing the sensation and being in that sensation. Back of the neck might need to get a bit longer, that tends to lift up and get quite tense. Steady breath. You might need to lift up in order to soften the knees from here. Bringing the hands away from the back if you've got them there. Bring the hands to the left foot, so you're turning the left foot to the top of the mat, hands either side. Move your way back to downward dog. Pause here, deep breath in. Long breath out. Inhale, roll your way out to plank pose. Knees to the floor, seat back towards the heels. Slide your way forwards onto your belly. Cobra pose. And again, there's a chance to explore here. So like we've been doing, there's a few different options, either with the hands quite close to the rib cage or slide the hands off the mat. Maybe even take them quite far forwards. Couple more breaths. And slowly come all the way down to rest. Have the left cheek resting on the mat if that feels comfortable for your neck. Otherwise you can pillow the head, forehead on the hands. Let the heels melt open. You might even feel your heart beating as it rests in the ground. Can you feel it swelling with breath each time you inhale? I'm going to begin to hold our postures for a little bit longer. So you might want your props handy if they're not already. Lorraine, I can get yours and Emily. Let's come towards a Sphinx pose from here. So you're going to come up onto your elbows, slide the elbows forwards underneath the shoulders. And if you're not sure about your alignment, you can hug opposite elbows, bring the pointy bits of your elbows into the center of each palm, and then keeping the elbows exactly where they are, just take the forearms forward. So Lorraine's going to demonstrate rolling a bolster underneath the lower part of her rib cage, which can be a really nice way to come out of the lower back body. If you haven't got a bolster at home, you could always grab a cushion off your sofa, roll it up a few times and place that underneath the lower part of the ribs, or a blanket is just as good. It just allows you to soften through the shoulders if you find that they get quite tense in this posture. You okay there, Emily, without it? Great. The legs can be a little wider than you might normally have them in Sphinx, but see if you can keep the little toes pressing into the floor, the little toenails. Take a breath here. Notice the expansion through the front of the body into the heart space across the collarbones. And as you exhale, see if you can soften the shoulder blades down the back body, release through the neck, let the jaw go. As you settle into stillness, draw your attention to the sensation that you're feeling in your body. Where do you feel it? How does it feel? Is it pulsing? Is it static? Or does it move? Is it warm? Maybe it's cool. Take 3 minutes in the postures. We've got about another couple of minutes here. You're absolutely welcome to come out earlier if you need to. You can just roll your way down to your belly and take rest. Otherwise, you're trying to find that stillness, noticing, and then just letting the breath happen. And coming up to our final minute in the posture. So you're welcome to stay exactly as you are. You might have found a bit more space through the body. Can the shoulder blades get a little wider? Almost secure in the back body as the collarbones get wider. Or maybe you need to come out. Drawing your awareness to the breath as it flows in. Notice the breath as it leaves the body. And observing 3 more rounds of breath in the body. Time, slowly releasing. So you need to roll away any props that you might have underneath the lower part of the rib cage. Let your right cheek rest on the floor for most of us, unless you took the opposite way last time. And let the arms rest any way that feels comfortable. So again, you could just rest them alongside you. Maybe you place the head on top of the hands. If you need a gentle roll through the hips, you can take them from side to side. That can begin to ease out any tension that might have built up in the lower back. But mostly just send the breath there. Take the breath deep into the belly. The belly doesn't have anywhere to go on the floor, so the breath's going to expand into the back body, giving you some release. So I'm going to invite you to come up to the same posture again. If you'd prefer to take rest, you can stay resting on your belly, but you might swap the way that the head is every so often. So you're moving into a different way in the neck. So Sphinx pose a second time is an option. You can absolutely use your props, use your bolster underneath the rib cage. If you found that the hip points got a little bit sore in the floor, you could fold a blanket and put that underneath the hips as well. It might feel quite different the second time you come in, or maybe you've still got a residual feeling from the last posture. There might be some tension through the lower back. If you need to engage the body a little bit more in this posture, you could press the tops of the feet into the floor. You might send your tailbone towards your heels a bit more actively. And some of us in this posture can be really easy, really soft. Let any tension go. So at any point while you're in this second posture, or second Sphinx pose, you could change it up into a seal pose. You might want to take the fingers a bit wider and turn them out ever so slightly. And from there, you can begin to float the elbows away from the floor. Yeah, really nice. That might feel too much in the back. If it does, just come back to Sphinx pose. But otherwise, you could spend the whole of the rest of the time here. You might just spend a few breaths. That's really nice. See if you can feel like the inner arms are rolling forwards, the shoulder blades are supporting you in the back body, the heart radiating forwards, and you can fill that space with breath. And every now and again you might need to check for tension in the jaw, in the face. You might want to soften the back of the neck a little bit. So coming up to the final minute in the posture again. Just checking in, it's a good point at which to check in to see whether you need to come down, to come out completely, whether you can stay and maintain a really steady breath. Breath is a really great guide to how the body and the mind are in each posture. You want it to remain as steady and easy as possible. Three more rounds of breath. And very mindfully transition out of the posture, all the way back onto your belly. You might take your props to one side. If you've got bolster, roll it to the top so it's not in your way when we come to the next position. But this is a moment just to rest. head might turn the other way. So I think for most of us, left cheek maybe. I'll use it up to your discretion. Leave it up to your discretion. And again, if you need to shimmy through the hips a little bit, you can wriggle them from side to side. See if you can really be in these in-between places. It's easy to be thinking about the next posture, or maybe going back to where we've just been, connecting to a feeling of breath in body, sensation that you're feeling right in the moment. Deep breath in, long breath out. It might be a sigh. I'm going to prepare to come to an open wing posture here, which is going to really open up through the inner arms. First of all, stretch your right arm out at shoulder height. If you haven't got space to take it fully wide, you can bend your elbow so it's a cactus shape. But if you have got the room, really make use of that. Have the right palm in the floor. And then turn the head the other way, so you're looking towards the left. Bring the left palm into the floor in front of your face. Roll the legs together behind you, so you're quite close together, and then begin to push into the left hand, rolling onto the right hip. So you're rolling onto the right side of the body. Eventually the hips might stack, but if they don't worry too much about it. The shoulders are going to determine how far across you can roll. So really breathe into this. Be nice and easy through the jaw. And you might find that you can bend up the left knee and step the left foot to the floor. If that's not accessible, don't worry about it. You could counterbalance just by stretching the left leg back behind you a little bit if that's necessary. Otherwise, just rest the left leg on top of the right. So this can be a really strong posture for a lot of us, particularly as these are the muscles and the ligaments that get really tight in our day-to-day lives, particularly if we're sitting hunched over computers, whatever work we're doing. So it's a really beneficial stretch, but you might find that you really need to pay attention to breathe into it and to make sure that you don't go too deep. So if you feel any electric, sharp sensations, anything that's painful, then come away from that and bring yourself to a place where you feel a challenge, but it's not painful. You might find that this posture draws attention to your heart space in a different way, a different part. We often think of the heart just as being located at the front of the body, but here you might really feel into the underarm, particularly in the right-hand side right now. If you rest your awareness on that part of the body, you might be able to send your breath there with intention so it fills the lungs. You can also fill that space that's opening. We've got about another half a minute here. You might need to come out earlier. Remember, there's always permission to come out earlier if you need to. Otherwise, steady breath. 3 more rounds. And begin to unravel yourself so you can find your way back to your belly. You might need to remove the left leg from the floor, roll over and release that right arm. Just take it alongside you. Make sure it's really easy. And we'll take a moment before we come straight to the other side. It's always great in these slower, longer held postures to take a bit of time in between so you can really assimilate and digest. One of the energy centers or the energy meridians that we're moving into is the small intestine, part of our digestive process. Taking time to digest and assimilate is so important. Deep breath in. Long breath out. If you need longer here, then take it. Just join in when you're ready. Otherwise, set up on the other side. So you're going to stretch the left arm out. Just take a peek to make sure it's at shoulder height. If you haven't got space, again, you can bend your elbow. And then taking the gaze over to the other shoulder, bring the palm of the hand into the floor in front of your face. Legs are together. And then you're going to slowly roll your way onto your left side. Might feel really different on this side. We're often a little imbalanced through the body, so you might find it's either more intense or less so. Remember, we've got time here. You don't have to hurry. You're not trying to get anywhere. Allow the jaw to be really soft, even to feel like it's slightly unhinged. Soften into the tongue. Right down into the muscles alongside the neck, into the throat. You might even be able to soften your eyes here. Let the eye sockets receive the orbs of the eyes. Exploring a different part of your heart space. Left underarm, left side body, sending breath there with intention and awareness. Final half a minute here. Three more rounds of breath. And slowly release your way back to your belly, unfolding the legs, releasing the arms, and eventually bringing that left arm back alongside you so it can rest fully. Just let the sensation be. We're not trying to get rid of it. We're not trying to get anywhere. We're just being right here, right now. As we nourish the heart space, we can allow ourselves to be a little more open to the present moment and to whatever that might contain. Deep breath in. Long, expansive breath out. Begin to bring the hands under the shoulders and turn the gaze back down to the floor. You're going to press your way back to sit on your heels. If it feels uncomfortable to sit on your heels, you might grab a brick or something and place them between, or even your bolster. Just a chance to ease out through the shoulders. If it's easier and nicer just to sit in stillness, you could close your eyes, rest your hands either on your legs, or even come back to that mudra we had at the beginning of class with the fingers interlaced over the heart center. If you need some movement through the shoulders to ease out after those quite strong stretches, then you can roll the shoulders with or without your mudra. This is Vajrapadama mudra, the mudra of unshakable faith, which is such a nice one to practice when we're moving into heart space, which can feel quite open, it can feel quite exposing sometimes. And then come to stillness if you've been moving the shoulders, if you feel ready and you feel balanced. Feel that expansiveness into the heart space as you breathe in. And softening and a release as you breathe out. Let the hands fall away. And we'll set up for a child's pose here with quite wide knees. Same as before at the beginning of class. So the big toes could touch, knees are quite wide. We're going to add our twist again, but first of all, just let the belly fold down between the thighs, finding your way to that place. If you find that in a longer held child's pose, you get a little uncomfortable through the tops of the feet, even behind the knees or in the hip creases, you could roll the blanket and place it in those places, and that's going to give you a little bit more space. So from there, let's keep the left hand grounded. Lift up a little bit so you can slide the right hand underneath that armpit, coming down to rest on the outer shoulder. Yeah, great. And just let yourself soften into this place. So earlier on in class, you might have been reaching quite actively through the left arm up towards the top edge of the mat. You could just soften the elbow into the floor. If it feels more comfortable to take a different position with that left arm, you're welcome to take the arm and slide it behind your back body. You might even drape it behind your back body, resting it on your sacrum. Otherwise, just keep it rested where it is. Coming back to your easy breath. And notice how we're working into the arm and the outer arm in a different way. So the opposite, it's like a counter pose to the posture that we were in previously. Take a couple of minutes on each side. So we're moving towards a final minute with the twist in this direction. As always, if you need to come out earlier, then find your way back. Maybe just to a regular child's pose, or if you need to come out of your child's pose, you could come up and come to sit, stretch the legs out long, ease out what has felt a bit too uncomfortable to remain. Three more rounds of breath on this side. See if you can watch them happening rather than try and breathe in a very controlling way. And then in your own time, listening to your own breath, begin to unravel. You might need to take the left arm back up to the top of the mat. Press into the hand slightly so you can lift up and release the right arm forwards. Take a moment there. You can take the hands wide, maybe the elbows wide, or even slide the hands down by the feet for a moment. A few rounds of breath, just releasing off through the shoulders a touch more. Allow the breath to fill up the back of the heart space here. Right into the underarms, around the side of the body. And as you breathe out, let the front of the heart space melt down towards the floor. Begin to take the arms back up long out in front of you again. We'll come to the other side, so you might just need to lift up a little bit, slide the left arm underneath. Outer upper arm on that left side is stretching into the floor. And if you took a different arm variation on the other side with the right arm, you might choose to do that on this side for balance. So you might wrap the arm around the back body. We've already done that stretch in a way when we had our wing posture. So whatever feels most comfortable, most interesting, most useful. To our final minute in the posture. Steady breath. That soft face, that easy jaw, nice soft tongue. Of breath. your own breath count, unraveling the arms. Take a moment either with the elbow wide on the floor or the hands down by the feet. We've just got 3 more breaths here, make them expansive. Breathing into the back, the side, the front, and then letting it all melt down to the floor as you exhale. Begin to walk your hands back towards your knees, coming back to the heels. And from there, come off onto one side so you can spin the legs around in front of you. And it's a very, really welcome release for your hip creases, the backs of the knees, and tops of the feet. So you can lean back into the hands here. Do whatever you need to do through the legs. So it might just be waggling the feet from side to side. It could be that you want to bend your knees and rest the soles of the feet on the floor and windshield wipe the knees from side to side. So see what feels most intuitive. Neither one's better than the other, they're just a bit different and they're going to provide a slightly different release for your pelvis, the legs, those areas that have been really pressed. Feeling good? Getting blood circulation back in. You can even rub areas of the body that feel like they need a little bit more blood coming back to them as well. So from here we're going to start with taking a dragonfly position, which is having the legs really wide. Join me for a moment. So you might, exactly, turn to the edge of your mat. If you haven't got space wherever you are, you might need to create space. If you need the knees slightly bent to sit up a little more forwards at the sit bones, then you can do that. You can also kind of sit up on something as well. So start off by bending in the right knee towards the body. So you can bend in the right knee. So the heel comes in towards your pubic bone. I'll mirror you at home from here. Yeah. Perfect. Have your bolster handy, which you might want it on the inside of your extended leg. So I would probably roll it there. If you haven't got a bolster, you might have a block at home or even your cushions or blankets if you've got them. From here, it's almost like the position that we came to earlier with the triangle pose. So we're going to find that again in the body. Take a breath in and sit up nice and tall. As you exhale, turn to face the right knee. So you're turning your chest towards the bent knee. So Emily the other way. So if you turn towards that, perfect. From there, stretch the left arm up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, reach along the inside of the left leg and hinge the body down like you would for triangle pose, eventually bringing the left fingers onto the inside of that foot. If you've got some support there, like Emily and Loren have got, you might even rest your elbow onto that support, and then you can cradle your head in your hands. That can feel quite nice. From there you can stretch the right arm up to the sky, and like we did in the triangle earlier, you could bend your elbow and just rest the hand behind the head. That can feel quite nice and a little easier than keeping the arm extended. If it feels too deep to be down resting on your elbow, absolutely just rest the fingertips in the floor, have a very gentle turn through the spine, and just lifting up through the elbow and opening up through that side of the body. Lovely, that feels really nice. If you feel any strain behind the back of the leg that you've got extended, you could roll something up and place it underneath the back of the knee as well. So that can be a really great way of supporting the leg and any tricky ligaments. And just breathing here. Again, just really checking in with sensation. Can you allow the sensation that you feel to keep you present, to keep you open, even if it feels quite challenging? Excellent, just check in. Maybe roll it underneath the back of that left knee. So if you have your bolster underneath the back of the knee, and then you might rest your elbow on your thigh even. Yeah, that'll support it a bit more, perfect. So sometimes when we come up against challenge, we can contract, we get a bit smaller, we get really tense and tight. So as we nourish into the heart space and we work into those energy lines that are associated with the heart and with this energy of fire, we can play around with how we can be a bit more expansive and open at the same time as feeling challenged. Playing around with it in this safe space on our mats so we can then take it back out into the world. Let's take 3 more rounds of breath here, not holding it for quite so long. And be really mindful as you come out of the posture. You might need quite a lot of belly power. You could use your hand on the inner leg to come up, release the arms and the shoulders, and unfold the right leg. You're opening it out, folding in the left heel towards your groin, and swapping the props over if you've been using them. Yeah, that's great, Lauren, support the back of that knee. Perfect. From there, turn the chest a little to the left knee. Perfect. Stretch the right arm up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in, and like you would for triangle pose, begin to hinge your way over that extended leg. Maybe you rest your elbow down on a prop. Maybe you just rest the fingertips on the inner leg. And then, yeah, that elbow can bend up towards the ceiling. Left arm bends, hand can cradle the back of the head. Feeling your way into your breath. Notice if you've gone a bit too deep too soon. The breath will tell you. The breath will get really constricted. That idea of tightening up and closing down that I was talking about earlier. Come to a place where you can be open, and then you might notice changes happen a bit more slowly over time. Softening the jaw. Maybe even turning the corners of the lips up into a gentle smile. Even if you feel quite challenged right now, that can be a nice way of signaling to the body that it's okay to be open, that you're in a relatively safe space. The challenge is okay. Each time you exhale, you might be able to let go of something in the body, something that might be holding unnecessarily. Three more rounds of breath, nice and steady and easy, no rush. Very mindfully begin to come back out of the posture. From there, you might stretch the left leg out for a moment, removing props. And again, you can bend the knees a little as you lean back into the hands, wriggle through the shoulders. Feel free to windshield wipe the legs if you want to take that movement from side to side, or just wriggle out through the ankles. When you're ready, begin to roll yourself down onto your back body. Have the knees bent, the soles of the feet resting in the floor. Effortless rest here. The inner knees could rest together. Relax through the thighs, into the heart, into the pelvis. Feel the breath expanding into heart space as you breathe in. As you breathe out, soften the shoulder blades into the back, the floor behind you. I'm going to end with a rotation on both sides for a few breaths before we come to Shavasana. So from there, bring the hips a little over towards the right side of the mat. So shift the hips to the right. Yeah, then curl the knees up and in towards your chest. Keep them about waist height, take the arms out at shoulder height, and then begin to roll the knees down to the opposite side towards the left. Perfect. Don't do anything under there. You might find that you need to rest something underneath the left thigh or the left knee. Maybe even under the right shoulder if that's lifted away from the floor. So you could use a rolled up blanket, a pillow. Take a breath in here. As you breathe out, stay there and see what you can soften, particularly into the hips, the knees, the ankles. Feel the breath pulsing into the heart space. One more deep breath in. Nice long, slow exhale. As you inhale, roll the knees back to center. You'll need to place the feet down so you can shift the hips through the middle and over towards the other side of the mat. Then go and gather the knees in up towards waist height again. Roll them over towards the right side. You can turn the chin over the left shoulder. You might find that you need different support this side. Maybe you need something underneath the knee where you didn't on the other side, or underneath the shoulder. Again, just seeing what you can let go as you breathe out. It might be a physical thing, it might be a persistent thought. Might be the need to get somewhere. One more long breath in. Full deep exhale. Rolling the knees back up to center. Again, realign the hips through the middle of the mat. Curl the knees back in for a last hug. Have a roll around if that feels good. And when you're ready, begin to place the body on the floor for Shavasana. You could choose to lie on your back body, but if you prefer, lie on your side or your tummy instead. If it feels more comfortable, come up to a seat. Yeah, and absolutely feel free to use any props. Something behind the backs of the knees can be a really nice way to settle the body into more of a neutral alignment. Bring your awareness to your heart space. As you breathe in, feel the heart expand. Right out, front, sides, back, top and bottom. As you exhale, let it all go. A couple more times, slightly deeper breaths in. Big expansion, front, back, sides, top to bottom. Maybe out through the mouth. One more time. And let the breath find its own way, coming back to its natural rhythm. You're watching it, you're observing it. And then maybe noticing parts of the body that feel a bit more open. Could be that you rest your attention on your heart space as it moves with the breath. I'm going to leave you in Shavasana. Take time. The whole of the practice has been building up to this moment where we can let the body be, let the body release. Thank you so much for joining us for class. See you again soon.